Ranjana Maitra. When I look back at my own journey, I was born and brought up in Rourkela, a steel plant city, and to parents I'm proud of. My father had a double engineering degree, and my mother had done her master's in English literature way back in those days in the 1950s. My sister and I were fortunate to be raised in a family that was progressive and rose above stereotype limitations. I had privileged access to global education and pursued a master's degree in the University of New Haven in the cusp of 90s, something that was not a norm at all in those days. I received all encouragement and support from my family to follow my dreams. The experience of living and studying in the US was a great experience with something which I will always cherish throughout my life. I have always taken the road less traveled by. When it was common for most students to stay back in the US and pursue careers, I chose to return to India in 1991 and join TCS. I was hired in New York by the legend who put India into the software map of the world, Mr. F.C. Kohli, and seeing his vision, I decided to return to my home country and join TCS and laid the foundation for an exciting, rewarding and fulfilling career. My initial 11 years with TCS provided me hands-on experience through a variety of roles to understand the interplay of functions in successfully building and growing businesses. I discovered my passion for healthcare there, which led me to set up, build and grow businesses through several large integrated IT deals in the government sector. I was also running the business segment for the insurance practice and executed several projects. I was responsible for the marketing of many of TCS's proprietary software as well. I also had the opportunity to lead large-scale ERP implementation for integrated hospitals in both the public and private sectors. I then moved to Wipro in 2002 to take on a new challenge to set up a business in healthcare vertical from scratch. I believe it is extremely important to constantly look for opportunities to challenge yourself, push your boundaries and deliver results. During my stint with Wipro, I had the opportunity to deliver in a variety of leadership roles in healthcare and life sciences. In my last stint in Wipro, I was heading the global business in the life sciences vertical for BPS with over 3,000 employees across 12 delivery locations across 3 continents. While success in the corporate world is satisfying, what has been most gratifying and fulfilling is many of my clients reach out to me, whether it's on a birthday, Thanksgiving, Diwali or Christmas, and they constantly remain in touch, and it's completely vice versa. To me, that is a profound and valuable measure of success and the positive impact we make in our corporate roles that usually focuses on very heavily just on bottom line alone. If I look back and reflect at my own journey of almost 30 years across 2 large corporates and recently the University of New Haven in Connecticut, my alma mater, which has been wonderful like homecoming, it's been a lot of toil, hard work, rewards, challenges, learning from mistakes, getting up and moving on, but never giving up. I have always believed in the mantra, undercommit and over-deliver. Say the bad news first. Trust is the most important thing. This has helped me build trust and credibility all through my career. Understanding culture has played a big role in managing diverse global teams, and my foundation at the University of New Haven, where I studied with many international students at an early age and even lived with them, taught me diversity and a lot of practical life lessons. This helped me very much later in my career. Working now at the University of New Haven has been very refreshing and rewarding. Our President Stephen Kaplan is very diversity focused and promotes women at all levels, and it can be seen across the board. It has been wonderful working here, and I'm very passionate about higher education. As an international education leader, I represent the University of New Haven as the country head in India. As an alumnus and as an evangelist, I am the face and voice of the university and engage bright talent and partners alike in actively building a community that is passionate about global higher education and is extremely rewarding and fulfilling. Industry trends and changing global dynamics in the education field and impact of COVID-19. As the old adage goes, if you want to plan for a year, plant rice. If you want to plan for 20 years, plant trees. If you want to plan for 100 years, plant education. I'm a firm believer of education and the transformation education that could bring to individuals, families, societies, and the world at large. To give you a brief snapshot of higher education in India, there are approximately 900 universities, 40,000 colleges, and 12,000 standalone institutions. Total enrollment in higher education has been estimated to be 35.7 million, with 19 million boys and 16.7 million girls. Girls constitute 46.8% of the total enrollment. However, there is a huge supply-demand gap. A research says 400 million qualified students will still not have places at the universities. This is concerning. Over a decade, the diversity of courses will lead to a saturated market for engineering, technology graduates and MBAs. The quality of teaching and learning is not at par with global standards, with exceptions of some elite few institutes. The system is beset by issues of quality in many of its institutions, a chronic shortage of faculty, outdated curriculum, poor quality teaching, lack of accountability and quality assurance, and so much more. So for a population of the size of India, this is a great concern. Hence, there is a high demand in India for higher education overseas due to an increasing middle class. The current supply of quality students coming in from top tier schools is only a handful. 500 million people who are transitioning into the middle class are willing to spend for education for their kids. And due to the current supply and demand deficit, these numbers are growing every day. Compared to most of the other higher education systems around the world, the US system is largely independent and is also diverse, as there are public, private, very large, small, secular, religious affiliated, etc. Such diversity means that there is a right fit for every qualified student. There are approximately 4,500 degree granting institutions in the US, and the quality does not vary like in India. Even if one cannot get into the top Ivy League schools like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, if you can get a degree from a good school with a decent ranking, you will have no problem finding a job, and the quality of education would be well worth your money spent. The point I'm trying to make here is that if I study, say, data science, which is a very highly ranked STEM course, or MBA, as the MBA College of Business is AACSB accredited, I have a very, very good chance of getting a good job post-completion. And if it's a STEM degree, I can work for 3 years, which is what lures most international students to come to the US despite the pandemic. However, in India, if you have not studied from a prestigious B school or a reputed engineering college, one's chances of getting an entry-level job may prove to be that much more difficult due to the stiff competition and demand-supply gap. Specific to the impact of COVID-19, I would like to mention that even for the upcoming spring 21 semester, we are seeing an uptick in enrollments and a large number of students are keen to go to the US for their studies, and the pandemic is not a barrier. The students are just waiting for their US visa appointment dates. One can understand the trend when one reflects a little deeply. To add, in our state, Connecticut, we had one of the lowest COVID rates and have a hybrid model in place for teaching, which has been very successful for the fall semester. President Steve Kaplan had the foresight and took some strong measures which resulted in a total control of the COVID-19 situation in the 3 campuses we have in West Haven, Connecticut. We have taken all precautions and we have a COVID-19 task force in place headed by Dean of Health Sciences. So today students are welcomed along with their welcome kit with masks, thermometers, sanitizers and PPE kits. Of course, the 14 days quarantine is mandatory. Agility and adaptability are the key words which the pandemic has taught us. Today, the entire university learning has changed. The way we recruit or meet students and partners has radically changed, and it's all virtual. The good part is that we can cover more ground now than we could do much before and say travel from one city to another. And I'm very happy with the results, and we can spend more quality time with the students now, even though it's virtual. It has made a lot of difference. We are all defined by our values, choices and actions. They define who we are, what we do and what we aspire to be. They make us unique. And being unique is in itself empowering to us. A few learnings and beliefs that I abide by. Find and acknowledge who you are. The pursuit of happiness begins with understanding your strengths and areas of improvement on a continual basis. It ends in the acceptance of the self, which is the true mantra of happiness. Be it at home, office or anywhere else, I hold my values close to heart, those of integrity, honesty and being true to myself. Success lies in daily habits. What you do daily and how you manage your energy cycle daily determines your long-term success. I always set measurable goals for myself. I have never settled for anything that limits my capability. Personally, I set measurable goals in both my personal and professional life. Many a time I'm labeled as a perfectionist, but the truth is I am my own worst critic. I never follow the crowd. I always set my own standard. This gives me a sense of empowerment and brings peace and contentment. Making mistakes is okay, but learning from them is my mantra. And if we do not learn from our mistakes and keep repeating them, it makes no sense. This attitude has helped me to take measured risks in life and has worked very well for me. Be your own hero. I have never let my gender be my guiding principle. I always did what I wanted to do. Going to the US alone 30 years ago to pursue an MBA, not a common thing back then, made me my own little superhero. I took a sabbatical at the peak of my rocking career, as I've always traversed the road less traveled by. What I am today is a result of my unwavering faith in myself. But like every superhero, I also had a back-end rock-solid support system, my parents and my spouse, who encouraged me to live and explore my dreams in every possible way. Put your heart in whatever you do. I believe that you cannot work is small for everyone. Every work needs you to roll up your sleeves and do it. Nurturing relationships, whether partnerships for collaboration or for everything, you need to be a team player. You also need to make that little effort to help others and build your own network. I think that's very important. Boosting the morale of co-workers is equally important. After all, we grow by motivating ourselves. In my endeavor to support women specifically, I'm happy to share that in my earlier business vertical, it comprised of 55% women. I've always built a diverse network of my own. Lastly, the importance of giving. We all play a part in the organization, community, and in the society that we live in. It is important that we understand that we need to give as much as we receive. Today, what I am is because of my mentors, parents, and several others who guided me in my journey. Therefore, it is really important that we look around for those who need help and guidance and be a mentor to those and show them the ladder that they could climb, that they could one day stand and talk about their success story and inspire the next generation. The change should continue and